Hi guys, so I've said in the past how Nick Ferrari as a journalist is as useful as a chocolate fire guard or a chocolate teapot, whichever you prefer. Here he's going to speak to Andrew Pierce, who is a journalist at the Daily Mail. He's an assistant editor at the Daily Mail. And Nick is just going to let him say lies, just let him spew lies, and he's also going to join in with the criticism of Nicola Sturgeon. Now, Nicola Sturgeon here is attempting to put up some sort of restriction on the border between Scotland and England to protect the people of Scotland. That is her responsibility. And instead of actually acknowledging that and welcoming that, both Nick Ferrari and his friend Andrew Pierce are going to criticize Sturgeon and insult her and tell lies. But let's get into this.
The practicalities of this, I don't know how they would close the border, Andrew. Good morning.
Morning, Nick. Well, I don't know if she's even if she can actually, because I think it takes two to tango, and I'm not sure that the government in Westminster would agree. But if you just think about the Scottish border, it's 90 miles in length. How are they going to police that? How are they going to stop people going across the border in a car, a push bike, a motorbike? Are they going to have the army there? Well, it's the British Army, actually, Mrs. Sturgeon. It's not your flipping army. Maybe she's going to use the police, where she's obviously got a lot of police officers. If she can put that many across a 90-mile stretch of border. I think there's 2 railway lines crossing the border.
You don't have to stop people. You just have to have a presence. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to stop everyone crossing over as they go into this ridiculous argument of somebody could swim across. That's not the point here. The point is restricting people's movements, asking people, please don't cross the border, putting up some sort of checkpoints. In the same way, if there has been some sort of terrorist incident, you put up a checkpoint. You don't stop people's complete movement, but you reduce people's movement. You check who's coming in and out. In the same way, you can put up some checks along the border. Of course, it's not going to completely stop people going across back and forth. For example, if we look across the water in Ireland, in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, there have been some checkpoints carried out by the Gardaí or the Irish police to stop movement, to restrict the movement of people both travelling from north to south and south to north. Has it stopped everyone from moving from north to south or south to north? No, it hasn't. But it's about reducing, or at least showing some sort of presence, or encouraging people, look, please don't move around. Can Nicola Sturgeon put up a hard border at the moment? No, probably she can't do that. But it's about putting up some sort of presence and encouraging the public to be a bit more vigilant, to reduce their movements if possible. Of course, both Nick and Andrew are not actually interested in the reality of the situation
as well, so she's got to sort that out. Don't forget people might swim across, of course, and then of course
swim round it,
swim round it, yeah. and then there's 20 odd roads too. So I think she's talking out of her kilt. This isn't about COVID, Nick, in my view. This is about her obsession with.
So this is not about protecting the public. This is about so even up to like a year ago, this was not about the pandemic. This was about the election, the coming election. I need to do something to look like I'm doing something. But then why would she be doing it now? And why would she be acting like a statesman a year ago when there was no mention of an election?
It's always trying to outdo Boris Johnson. She's going to announce today about schools because the British Prime Minister will announce on March the 8th about schools. She always wants to be one step ahead.
She always wants to be one step ahead. She says something, and then a few weeks later, Boris Johnson goes, maybe I should do the same. Then if Boris Johnson is going to, then whose fault is this? Is this her fault? If Boris Johnson is going to release some statement in the future, and she releases a statement between now and that future period, future time, that's her fault? But then shouldn't Boris Johnson release the statement now and not allow himself to be preempted by someone else? This is grasping at straws, trying to defend Boris Johnson. You have to remember, of course, anyone who doesn't know, the Daily Mail is a pro-Tory, pro-Brexit newspaper. So of course they're going to defend Boris Johnson at every turn and attack anyone who's against the Tories or against Brexit.
It is really about, in my view, and I do think she's one of the most irritating people in British politics. It's about...
But your voice is extremely irritating. My voice is probably extremely irritating for many people. But she's irritating. Why is she irritating? Because she makes Boris Johnson look like an idiot? Is she irritating because she actually acts like a leader and you would prefer a clown?
The local elections in May, she wants a huge majority for the SNP in the Scottish Parliament, so she can then say, even though she said it would only be on a once-in-a-lifetime vote back in 2016, she can say, we're having another...
Now, notice here that Nick Ferrari did not interrupt. What I'm talking about, let me just go back and let you hear once again.
In May, she wants a huge majority for the SNP in the Scottish Parliament, so she can then say, even though she said it would only be on a once-in-a-lifetime vote back in 2016, she can say, we're having another...
She did not say that. So isn't it interesting that Nick Ferrari didn't interrupt and say, I'm sorry, Andrew, you're mistaken. You're telling lies. Or you're mistaken because you don't know what you're talking about. Nicola Sturgeon did never say anything about once-in-a-lifetime generation. The only person you can apply that to is Alex Salmond. It's not Nicola Sturgeon, the current leader. And that was not an official policy. Even if it was an official policy, policies change. This is an attempt just to tar Nicola Sturgeon. She's trying to protect her people. That's a bad thing. She releases a statement about actions that need to be taken in order to deal with the pandemic. That's a bad thing because she does it before Boris Johnson.
Scottish referendum. It wouldn't be binding because it has to be agreed by the Westminster Parliament. That's what this is about. So she's now getting really tough. Even Alex Salmond, in his pomp when he was First Minister, never threatened to close the border.
What is wrong with closing the border? Really, if it's about public health, why would the Tories, why would Boris Johnson, why would his friends in the media like Andrew Pearce have a problem with closing the border? This is not about politics. It's about protecting people. It's about public health. I really don't understand. I have said on numerous occasions I would like to see a united Ireland. But I understand during a pandemic, it's important to have restrictions on the movement of people. I'm not talking about building border posts. I'm talking about having police restrict the numbers of people moving across the border. In the same way, the government in Scotland should limit the numbers of people moving across into England to protect the people in England. Can you imagine? Let's just imagine a situation. Imagine if there were massive numbers of cases in Scotland and Boris Johnson said tomorrow, look, we need to close the border with Scotland. Do you think Andrew Pearce would be saying that's a terrible idea? Or do you think he would be saying that's a wonderful idea? Let's say for Wales, if there was a massive outbreak in Wales and the numbers of cases in England were much lower, and Boris Johnson said we need to put in a border, we need to restrict the movement of people from Wales into England. Do you think Andrew Pearce and Nick Ferrari would be criticising Boris Johnson for that? Of course they would not, because they're political hacks. They're pro-Tory, pro-Brexit. And unfortunately, once one has the other on, there will be no true back and forth. There will be no criticism of the other's position. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?